When she was giving birth to, we saw a red spot in the eye that's beside the black eye. So we asked the doctors and they said it is normal, sometimes it do happen, and that she will be okay by some few weeks time. Truly, 3 weeks later, we couldn't see the spot again. So we were thinking everything is fine. So for about 6 months later, when she started, 7 months, when she started crawling and all, we realized that the eyeball doesn't look normal like the other one. So I first sent her to a community hospital around our area where we were staying. So they look at it and they said, oh, it is normal. Children, everybody has a stronger eye than the other one, though they are two, or the two can see, but one is stronger than the other. So we thought everything is fine. So 2 months later, we realized that no, it's becoming unbecoming. When she's looking at him, you could realize that she's trying to weigh one side.
That is Joseph Ananevi Dina, father of 21-month-old Maulom, narrating how his daughter's condition started. This condition was later diagnosed as retinoblastoma by doctors at the 37 Military Hospital after several tests and assessments.
So the mother told me that she's now seeing a certain signs in her vision. So we took her to 37. So it was at 37 she was diagnosed, and then the doctors said she has a retinoblastoma in the eye. So that's a cancer in the eye.
Salamatu Al-Hassan is Maulom's mother. She initially thought her daughter's condition was spiritual.
Initially, I thought my daughter's condition was spiritual, so I prayed fervently for God's intervention. When doctors told me they had to remove her right eye because of the cancerous tumor, I decided to trust in God.
Dr. Vera Adubia Isuman is the consultant pediatric ophthalmologist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Her unit attends to many children with different eye problems. She says Maulom's condition is the most common cancer among children, and there is no known cause.
Retinoblastoma tends to affect the inside of the eye, the back of the eye. There's a film at the back of the eye that helps us to see. It works like a film in a camera that records the images. And retinoblastoma arises from this film, and it occurs in very young children. In fact, it is the commonest cancer that we see in children, and happens to be the commonest eye cancer in children, and even in both children and adults that we see in this hospital. And worldwide, it remains the commonest eye cancer that affects the inside of the eye or the structures of the eye. For retinoblastoma, the cause itself is not known, but then it is known that there are some that tend to inherit it from their parents, and that's about 1/3 of the children who have retinoblastoma or this eye cancer that we are talking about. Sometimes it is heritable, and they tend to get it from one parent or both. But the commonest type, usually we don't know why it occurs. Why are we worried about it? Let me just bring in this, that in the Western world or in developed countries, if you take 100 children who have this condition, 97 of them will survive. So it's only about 3%, 1 to 3% that will lose their life because they are coming late. Now come to Africa and some developing countries. We have survival, so 100 people, we have less than 50% of them surviving. And the story is not different from Ghana. So you have children who come, and sometimes because the condition has gone beyond the eye, we lose them. So how many people are surviving in our environment? We estimate that less than 50% of our children are surviving. In fact, in 2010, we looked at the children that we have seen. We looked at 23 children that we saw over 20 months okay, in this hospital. And out of these 23 children, as I talk to you now, we have just about 4 of them who have survived. The rest lost their lives along the line, but it has improved over the period. And now we have gotten to a point where we think that we should do something about it. How many of them present with both eyes being affected? From our studies or analysis in this hospital, we are having about 40% of the children that we see presenting with the cancer affecting both eyes. And the 60%, it affects only one eye, okay. Which I would say that is good that a lot of them it's affecting one eye, but our only problem is that they present late. In fact, in this hospital, looking at those who come to us, in fact, for 2017 specifically, let me just use 2017 for instance, we saw 32 children who presented with this cancer. And out of these 32 children, we're able to look at the presentation for, the medical records of 26 of them. And for the 26, 8 of them, at the time that they presented, the tumor had gone into the brain, so we could not do anything about it. In such situations, we just give something to help them to be comfortable until God takes them away. We call it palliative treatment because we cannot do anything to really treat the condition or to cure the condition. The other number, which is about 18 of them, it was only 2 of them that we removed the eye, just the eye, without starting with treatment that would deal with the tumor in the eye and in the body, because we thought that was the earliest presentation. But you see, earliest means that it's still advanced, that's why we removed the eye, okay. But the rest of the other people, we had to give drug into the blood and all that to be able to preserve, deal with the cancer that has gone to the other parts of the body and be able to do that. How many of them are alive? In fact, about a third of this number, apart from the 8 that went home to somehow, I find it very difficult to say that, allowing them to go and die, but we couldn't do much about it. Apart from that, those that we offered treatment for, about a third of them have died already. Another third, we don't know where they are, so we are assuming that some of them too have passed on, and just about a third that we are following up that have survived.
Children with this type of cancer have to undergo a number of treatments and surgeries.
Presently, the National Health Insurance Scheme covers only the surgery, which is the removal of the eye, and supportive investigations. It does not pay for the diagnostic, the investigation that will help us to make the diagnosis, like the CT scan or the scan of the brain and of the eye and all that. It doesn't help us, okay, it doesn't pay for that. The cancer killing drugs that they give directly into the blood, it doesn't pay for that. So we have been advocating that will be captured or adopted in the NHIS, like the NHIS pays for other cancers like breast and all that. We also want that to be extended to the children, all forms of childhood cancers, including the retinoblastoma. But for the surgery, those who are not in insurance, the cost of surgery is about, let's say, 2,000 cedis, 2,500, everything together. But the CT scan alone, it's about 800 cedis to 1,000 cedis, depending on whether we are doing MRI or CT scan. If we put the systemic chemo together, all that, the number of cycles they have to receive, we are looking at about 5,000 cedis for that type of treatment. But how about the lasers and the other forms that can save the eye? That is expensive. For each laser session, one will be looking at about, let's say, 500 Ghana cedis per session, and they will need about a minimum of about 6 to 8 sessions until the tumors are killed. Every month we do this session. How about some of the newer treatment guidelines and treatment forms, the one that we are going to cover. We haven't established the actual cost yet. Why? In the US, UK, for one session, it costs about $20,000. In South Africa, Egypt, where we were sending these children to just for the treatment, one session is about $10,000. And that excludes the flights, the accommodation and all that, consultation, review charges. It's just about that if they go out there. And they need minimum 3 sessions, and sometimes some children may even require up to about 7 sessions just to save the vision and the eye if we don't want to take it out, okay? And that is if they go out. This child, the diagnosis was made at the beginning of the year. We removed the first eye in March. That was when the eye was removed. And then we realized that the other eye had a lot of the tumors in the second eye.
This definitely places a huge financial burden on parents and caregivers.
It was terrible. Actually, it's not an easy task when you realize that you gave birth to your child and she's having the 2 eyes, and then all of a sudden you are being told that the 2 eyes needs to be removed. But the only thing can be done also to save you at the latter part is this treatment, and that one too is not a small cost for you to say that I will be able to bear this kind of cost. So when it happened that way, it gives me a sleepless night actually, because I used to ask myself, where am I going to get this money actually to save my child? So actually that's even prompted me, and I have to go to some places trying to seek for funds and all those things. As I'm sitting here right now, I've borrowed from a lot of people, a lot, because even with the chemotherapy alone, I would say roughly when you are coming for it, you need 400 Ghana. And she has gone through for 6 times. So imagine 400 times 6. And then you have to do scan, some 650, you have to do every week, you have to do lab tests, you have to buy these drugs, you have to go here, this kind of place, you have to do this and that. And then even when they remove the eye, that you may say that even this eye, I don't need it again, it has fallen. That one too, you have to take it to the pathology department, you have to pay the 450 Ghana cedis. So as for the funds, actually I've spent a lot of it, and I'm owing a lot of people. Because before these things happen, actually when we get to know all these things, by then I've lost my job. So from, let's say, May last year up to December, it was terrible. It was terrible.
Fortunately for Maolom's family, relief has come. March this year, a team of Ghanaian consultants from the University of Ghana Medical School, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and Eurocare Advanced Diagnostics and Heart Center started performing the first ever minimally invasive method of surgery, known as intra-arterial chemotherapy, to treat advanced eye cancers in Ghana. This surgery is the first of its kind to be performed in West Africa.
This new treatment, we performed the first one in Ghana and in West Africa. That was on in April, 29th April is when we did that. And then the second, we do it monthly. The second one was done on 27th of May. And this is going to be the last session for this child. So far, it's been good.
On Wednesday, June 24, 2020, Maolom underwent the 3rd phase of surgery required for her condition. Here is Dr. Benjamin Sarkodie, interventional radiologist at the Eurocare Advanced Diagnostics and Heart Center, explaining the need for this crucial surgery.
COVID, we put on hold a lot of elective surgeries and a lot of procedures. We know that it is again during this period that we are doing this landmark case. We are only doing it because it is an emergency situation. If we don't do it, there's a poor little child who is going to lose the sight and lose the eye or even lose their life.
Maolom is now taken to the theater for surgery to begin. Salamatu Al-Hassan is hopeful of a positive outcome after her daughter's surgery.
And at the end, me okay because my first one, second one.
I have faith that things will turn out well because God took us through the first and second surgeries successfully. In fact, it's just by the grace of God that we have come this far.
The sight of medical equipment triggered a cry. The surgery begins. After about 3.5 hours, Dr. Benjamin Sarkodie, interventional radiologist at the Eurocare Advanced Diagnostics and Heart Center, and the team of medical experts from Kolebu Teaching Hospital finished the historic surgery in West Africa.
Today, here at the Eurocare Hospital, little Maulom, who was diagnosed with retinoblastoma, have had a procedure performed for her. This procedure, known as intra-arterial chemotherapy, is expected to give her a second chance to life and also improve her vision in the coming weeks.
Dr. Sarkodie explained the process.
So what we did was to basically go into a big vessel in the groin and then track some wires and tubes all the way into the artery that supplies the eye, and then inject chemo directly into that artery. When you do that, you reduce the systemic effect, which means that the damage to other tissues, the collateral damage, is taken care of. And also, you also achieve a lot of the chemo within the area where you want it to go. So this is what we did now, using what we call micro catheters, guide wires. We played all the way into the artery. And as you can see, that beautiful image on the screen, that is the eye, and that is the artery that supplies it. So we've injected the chemo directly into that place, and that will reduce the tumor bedding.
He is hopeful of a quick recovery for Maulom.
So now what we have done, we spare her some vision. She may not see so clearly, but at least she has some vision to do her activities of daily living and also even to go to school. So as you can see, a team of almost 7-8 doctors, my anesthetist is here. So it's a big team working together to ensure that we save as many children as possible. Everything went according to plan, and we are very hopeful that this is going to be very successful. So we have completed the treatment. We'll continue to monitor. Sometimes it will shrink up to a point where we'll do further treatment. So we'll keep on monitoring, and we'll be happy to give you a feedback in another 6 months or 1 year on how this child is doing.
Maulom is fortunate to be the first child in West Africa to benefit from this surgery, which has come at no cost to her family.
These patients cannot afford the treatment, and this hospital is subsidizing strongly to help the patient. So the cost should not be a barrier. And very soon we are setting up a fund as well, called the Kidney Site Fund, where we would be expecting or will be encouraging people to donate into, so that no child is sent back or no child is sent away. So cost of treatment, I don't want to even go into that, because there's nothing that you can actually equate to the sight that a child should have, because then they have 70 blind years or 80 blind years. There's no amount of money you can put to that.
Meryl Ernestina Richter's report for JoyNews.